Have you ever encountered a person whose presence seemed to slow time, as if the universe itself paused to let you feel something ancient and sacred? In that fleeting moment, the noise of the world faded, your defenses dissolved, and something unexplainable stirred within you. It wasn't mere chemistry. It wasn't a coincidence. It felt like your soul had recognized something it had always known. Carl Jung had a name for this moment: synchronicity, a mysterious alignment when your inner world and the outer world converge in perfect symbolic harmony. These moments are not random, they are spiritual invitations. This article explores the signs and experiences that are destined when the universe wants to connect you with someone who is deeply meaningful in your spiritual journey. Based on the philosophy of Carl Jung, especially the concept of synchronicity, the article analyzes connections that are not simply about romantic love, but about spiritual awakening, self-reflection, and deep inner transformation. These are not ordinary encounters. They are soul-level events designed to wake you up, to stir something in your unconscious, and to shift the trajectory of your path. Jung believed that the psyche speaks through symbols, and that our lives are guided not just by cause and effect, but by meaningful coincidences. When someone enters your life and your intuition sharpens, your dreams intensify and signs repeat with uncanny precision, it is not your imagination, it is your soul responding to a deeper truth. These people may arrive as lovers, friends, or brief companions, but their role is never accidental. They are mirrors of your unconscious, messengers of forgotten desires, or guides meant to illuminate what was once hidden in the dark. You might begin to see their name everywhere, feel their presence in your dreams. Encounter the same moment, the same phrase, the same emotion again and again, as if the universe is orchestrating a subtle yet powerful call. Pay attention, this is not a mistake. Jung wrote, "Synchronicity is an ever-present reality for those who have eyes to see." And when your soul is ready, truly ready, the universe doesn't shout. It whispers, it nudges, it offers the right person, not as a distraction, but as a reflection of where you are in your healing, your longing, your growth. So, if you've ever felt that someone entered your life too quickly, too deeply, or with a resonance you couldn't logically explain, stay with me. This isn't just a story about attraction, it's the unfolding of something more sacred. A cosmic design meant to transform your inner world, and perhaps everything after. The universe does not announce soul-shifting moments with thunder. It speaks in whispers, only the inner ear can hear. Have you noticed? When something truly sacred is about to enter your life, the world does not erupt in noise. It becomes eerily still. The most profound shifts in your destiny don't arrive like lightning bolts. They come like gentle rain at midnight. Subtle, persistent, and tender, tapping on the windows of your awareness while the world around you slumbers. And this is precisely how the universe introduces you to the person who is meant not merely to be loved, but to awaken something buried in your soul. They do not burst into your life with spectacle. They arrive in silence. The first sign is never a drama, but a quiet certainty. There are no cinematic violins, no grand emotions swirling at first glance, only an inexplicable peace, a pause in the inner noise. In that moment, your anxiety no longer claws at you. Your doubts, your scars, your inner chaos, all grow still. And in that sacred stillness, something within you remembers. It is not their appearance, their charm, or even their words that disarm you. It is their energy. It feels strangely familiar, like the echo of a home you've never physically visited, as if your soul has been rehearsing for this presence, in silence, longing, preparing, waiting, not for completion, but for recognition. This is not fantasy, it is alignment. Is the convergence of your unconscious and conscious worlds. As Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And this is fate, not as something imposed from outside, but something magnetized from within. When your inner landscape has been cultivated, When your wounds are acknowledged, your fears are met with compassion, and your truth is held like sacred ground, the outer world responds. It no longer resists your desire for depth, it reflects it. And in that mirror, the person you meet does not complete you. They reflect you. Not a shallow, flattering mirror, but one that reveals what has long been hidden. Your shadows, your buried longings, your untapped strength, your beauty beyond performance. They don't just stand before you. They hold up a lantern to the parts of you that you had forgotten how to love. This is not infatuation. It is an inner transformation wrapped in human form. And while others may chase sparks and chaos, this arrival feels like truth, like a quiet knowing, etched into the bones of your being. When the universe whispers, it is your soul that listens. And when the right person appears, not to fix you, but to stand beside your unfolding, you will recognize the moment not by how loud it is, but by how still you become. Because something in you will finally understand. This is not noise. This is the sacred whisper your soul has always longed to hear. There are moments in life so intricately timed, so emotionally piercing, they seem to break the logic of time itself. You think of them, and your phone lights up. Not hours later, not tomorrow, but in that very second. A message, a missed call, a name dancing across your screen like a whisper from the invisible. You wonder, how could this be? As if the universe had leaned in and responded directly to your thoughts. And it doesn't end there. You're driving through your day, heart heavy, distracted by the ache of their absence, and suddenly, that song comes on. The one that feels like it was written for your story, for your grief, for the part of you that still feels tethered to them. Goosebumps rise, your breath catches. You pause, not because it's magical, but because it feels intentional, as though some unseen force is echoing the truth you're still afraid to say aloud. Then the uncanny begins to repeat. You enter places you've never been, an airport, a bookstore, a crowded cafe, and there they are not in imagination but in form. You lock eyes across space, and something primal stirs. It doesn't feel random, it feels orchestrated. You begin to notice their name whispered in the mouths of strangers. Their initials are carved in odd places. Patterns, symbols, signals, almost as if reality itself is conspiring. You're not chasing signs, but signs are chasing you. These are not delusions of longing. These are synchronicities. Carl Jung once defined synchronicity as the meaningful coincidence of two or more events, where something other than the probability of chance is involved. These experiences are not connected by cause, but by meaning, by the intimate dialogue between your inner world and the outer landscape. They are the universe's subtle language, not spoken in words, but in alignment. It's like being tapped on the shoulder by destiny itself, whispered to by time. But here's the part most miss. These signs don't visit the unaware. They come to those who are awakening, to those who are becoming conscious, to those who are finally shedding illusion and aligning with the truth of who they really are. When your soul, your values, your grief, and your yearning are aligned, the external world doesn't stay silent. It begins to speak. And sometimes it speaks through a person, not just any person, but a mirror, a key, a soul who appears again and again, not to distract you, but to awaken something sleeping within. This is not superstition. This is soul language, a deep, symbolic intelligence that reveals itself through pattern, emotion, and timing. When you are not yet ready, life obstructs. But when you are inwardly aligned, it flows, and often with it comes someone who defies your understanding. They do not need to say much. They do not need to prove anything. But in their presence, something ancient stirs. A recognition, a remembering, not of who they are, but of who you are when they stand before you. You may try to resist it, to run from it, to rationalize it away. But synchronicity is patient. It will circle back in dreams, in coincidences, in that feeling that won't leave you. And eventually, if you are quiet enough, you will hear the whisper behind all the signs. This was not an accident. This was written in the language only the soul remembers. You don't merely see them, you see yourself through them. Falling for someone often feels like enchantment, a kind of beautiful disorientation. But what if the magnetism you feel isn't just about their eyes, their voice, or the comfort of their presence? What if it's about the awakening they stir within you, the parts of your soul that had long gone numb, the memories buried in silence, the wounds you tucked away for survival? Sometimes, we don't fall in love with a person, we fall in love with the version of ourselves that feels alive in their presence. That version we forgot existed. That version we stopped believing in. Carl Jung called this projection one of the most mysterious, often misunderstood forces within human connection. Each of us walks through life with two selves, the persona we offer to the world and the shadow self that we repress even from ourselves. That hidden self carries both pain and brilliance, light and unresolved longing. And when another soul enters our orbit, our unconscious recognizes something. We project onto them the lost, unlived pieces of our being, the beautiful, the broken, the fearful, and the divine. This is why we can be inexplicably drawn to certain people, not because they're flawless, but because they carry the symbolic key to a locked room inside us. Maybe you admire their fierce independence because deep inside, you've always felt caged by obligation. Maybe you're mesmerized by their calm because your inner world is a quiet storm of grief and anxiety. Maybe you fear their emotional distance because it echoes the ghost of someone who once left you behind. They don't just awaken desire, they awaken memory. They reflect back to you your most sacred hunger to finally meet yourself without shame. And this is where love becomes transformational, because the right person doesn't flatter your ego. They shatter its illusions. They unravel your comfort zone. They show you the fractures you've hidden behind achievements, the loneliness you disguised as strength, the tenderness you forgot how to give yourself. This is why soul connections are never clean, never easy. They are intense, uncomfortable, profoundly raw. Because they don't just connect you to another, they reconnect you to the real you. Not the curated version on social media, but the version that cries quietly into a pillow at midnight. The version is still grieving something lost. The version that's been waiting all this time just to be seen. Sometimes you meet someone who feels like home, but the deepest truth is, they're not your home. They are the mirror, the sacred reminder to return to the home within. And here's the wild paradox. You don't always end up with that person. They may pass through your life like a comet, intense and brief, but they leave you altered, opened, awakened. They stir a longing that refuses to be silenced, a reminder of who you could become if you stopped running from your own depth. So if someone once made you feel more alive, more vulnerable, more seen than you ever thought possible, don't just ask, why did they enter my life? Ask instead, what part of me did they awaken? Because perhaps they came not to complete your story, but to return you to it. The pain is not a punishment, it is a signpost of depth. And yet, this is the truth no one dares to whisper out loud. When the universe sends someone who resonates with the frequency of your soul, it does not always arrive wrapped in romance or comfort. It does not gently lull you into love with poetry and petals. Sometimes it sets your world ablaze. Sometimes what feels like breaking is actually your soul beginning to breathe again after years of silence. It isn't because they are wrong for you, it's because their presence has awakened you from emotional slumber. And awakening, real awakening, is never gentle. It is raw, luminous, and deeply unsettling. When someone touches your soul at that level, they don't just bring joy, they bring clarity. And clarity, by its very nature, is confrontational. It tears away illusion. It makes you see what you've refused to face. The walls you built around your heart that once felt like protection, but now feel like prisons. The coping strategies you proudly wore like armor that now feel heavy and hollow. The grief you buried so deeply you forgot it had a name. These things do not surface because they are cruel. They surface because you are finally safe enough, conscious enough, ready enough to feel them. Real love does not abide by the ego's terms. It does not promise eternal comfort or shield you from your unfinished stories. It arrives to reveal them. It does not coddle you, it initiates you. And when it does, you start asking the questions you've spent your entire life avoiding. Why am I terrified of being seen? Why does vulnerability feel like a threat? Why do I run from those who truly care? That's when you realize you're not merely falling in love with them. You are falling into the places within yourself that remain unhealed. As Carl Jung said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Healing doesn't come from pretending you're fine. It comes from facing the parts of you that are not. And sometimes, the person who stirs your soul is the same one who unintentionally holds up a mirror to everything you've kept hidden. Their emotional distance awakens your childhood fear of abandonment. Their calm exposes your inner chaos. Their silence reactivates the haunting ache of being overlooked. They do not hurt you out of malice. They hurt you by revealing what has always been hurting, but this does not make them the enemy. It makes them your mirror. It makes them your teacher. True relationships are not just about affection, they are about evolution. Because love is not merely meant to make you feel good, it is meant to make you whole. Every emotional trigger is not a curse, it is an invitation, an initiation into your own growth. This is the sacred paradox. Pain becomes the portal to journaling again, to ask deeper questions. Finally, recognize patterns that keep you small, to choose yourself, not out of spite, but out of reverence for your becoming. You stop blaming, you stop fleeing, you begin taking responsibility for your healing, and in doing so you reclaim your power. That ache in your chest, that confusion in your mind, that trembling in your heart, it's sacred, because surface-level connections don't wound you like this. Only soul-level encounters reach this deep, and the deeper they reach, the more they awaken. One day, as your wounds begin to breathe in the light, you'll feel something strange. Gratitude. Not because it was easy, but because it was real. Because it cracked you open in ways nothing else could. Because that love, whether it stayed or left, taught you what it means to be fully alive. So when someone shakes you to the core, don't curse the pain, don't numb it, don't run. Sit with it, honor it, for in that pain lives the sacred truth. This was not just an encounter. This was a mirror. And that depth you feel, that ache you carry, is where your healing begins. The shadow awakens in the presence of destined love. Each soul, no matter how composed on the surface, carries within it a silent storm. It is not the kind of storm that shatters buildings, but the kind that quietly erodes self-worth. It is made of all the fragments we've tucked away, the jealousy we deny, the longing we hide behind pride, the abandonment we pretend never scarred us. These fragments do not vanish simply because we silence them. They retreat into what Carl Jung called the shadow, the unconscious counterpart of our being, the forgotten twin of our conscious self. This shadow is not the version of you that earns applause. It is not the version your curated photos reflect. It is the trembling figure behind the curtain, the version that aches in silence, that recoils at intimacy, that mistrusts love because love once came cloaked in pain. And so, we exile this part of us. We disguise it with laughter, bury it beneath competence, and mask it with false independence, until one day, when the soul is ripe, a destined encounter arrives. Not merely a person, but a mirror. Not merely a connection, but a key. This person doesn't just enter your life, they enter your psyche. They awaken what you've worked so hard to keep buried. And suddenly, you don't recognize yourself. You feel jealous, even though you've always believed you were secure. You feel clingy, even though you've built a life around not needing anyone. You panic when they withdraw, even though you once swore no one could touch you like that again. And amidst this emotional turbulence, a deeper question arises. What is happening to me? What's happening is not your unraveling. It's your revelation. Your shadow, long hidden, is beginning to stir, not to destroy you, but to finally be witnessed. This person did not cause the storm within you. They simply had the soul force to reveal it. That's what a soul connection does. It does not merely comfort your ego. It calls forth your truth. It does not just affirm your light. It exposes your darkness, not to shame you, but to invite you to reclaim it. And here is the crucial realization. Not every inner storm signals dysfunction. Some storms come as healers. They rise to cleanse the emotional debris of decades. They rupture so they can rebuild. Some people are sent not to complete you, but to reveal you, to dismantle your illusions, to crack the hardened defenses around your heart, to whisper softly through their very presence, "This is what hurts. This is what you've avoided. This is where you begin again." Destined love is not passive. It does not sit quietly in comfort. It confronts. Not violently, but sacredly. It brings your lifelong patterns into sharp focus and offers you a choice. Will you keep repeating them, or will you transcend them? It shows you your fear of abandonment and asks, will you keep fleeing, or will you learn to trust again? It presents your compulsion for control and whispers, will you keep holding on, or will you finally surrender to the flow of life? In that tension between fear and freedom, growth is born. The shadow, once seen as your enemy, becomes your compass. The pain, once dreaded, becomes your mirror. You begin to touch the wounds you've hidden and discover they do not make you unlovable. They make you human. You stop shrinking to fit into someone else's comfort zone. You start expanding into the wholeness of your being. You begin to hold yourself the way you once begged others to. This is the true gift of destined love. Not the fantasy of perfection, but the awakening of the real self. A love that does not finish your story, but tears open the pages you forgot to write. So when someone walks into your life and everything inside you begins to shake, don't run. Sit. Listen. Feel. Because sometimes that soul didn't come to stay, they came to initiate. They came to help you remember who you were before the world told you to forget. Not every soul you're destined to meet is meant to walk the entire journey with you. At some point along the path of your spiritual becoming, you awaken to a sobering truth. Some people are not here to stay. They are here to shift you. They arrive not with the promise of permanence, but with the purpose of transformation. Some come like tempests, loud, sudden, and unforgettable, leaving your heart in pieces and your world changed. Others enter like a whisper, like the breeze that stirs your curtains at dawn, gentle, healing, subtle in their magic. But regardless of how they enter, they carry the same sacred thread. They do not come to complete you. They come to awaken you. We live in a world obsessed with forever, a culture that teaches us to measure love in years, in rings, in milestones. Movies promise a happily ever after. Songs serenade us with the idea of eternal connection. But what if the deepest souls you meet are not meant to stay? What if their role is not to remain, but to ignite? These are the soul encounters that awaken a part of you untouched by time, the part that lies dormant, ancient, waiting. They stir something primordial in your being, calling forth emotions you've long silenced. They disrupt your certainties, challenge your beliefs, and shine a mirror into the corners of your psyche you've never dared explore. And then, as mysteriously as they came, they vanish. Or perhaps life pulls you apart, or you find yourself having to choose your growth over their presence. And it breaks you. You question the meaning. You wrestle with confusion. If it was meant to be, you ask, why didn't it last? But here's where the ego struggles and the soul sees clearly, real doesn't always mean forever. Carl Jung once wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." And that is the essence of a destined encounter. It alters you. It doesn't conform to your timing, your fantasies, or your expectations. It marks your soul, not with scars, but with symbols. It doesn't fulfill your illusions, it dissolves them. These people don't become chapters. They come to be catalysts. They don't lull you into comfort. they shake you out of it. Maybe they revealed to you the feeling of being fully seen. Maybe they mirrored back the unhealed ache still inside you. Maybe they lit a fire in your spirit that burned down every excuse you once had for playing small. And maybe, just maybe, the greatest gift they gave you was their absence. Because their absence forced you to face your loneliness, your longing, your worth, and in that emptiness, you discovered the beginning of your own presence. Pain, in this light, is not a punishment, it is a sacred instruction. These soul-altering connections teach you that love is not about possession, nor is it about endurance. It is about evolution. Not every love story ends in shared addresses or vows exchanged. Some end in silence, in tears, in distance, but their imprint endures. Because they did something no comfortable relationship ever could. They awakened you. They made you remember yourself. They cracked open the version of you you were never meant to stay trapped in, and ushered in the next becoming. And yes, it hurts. Letting go often feels like failure, but awareness teaches you otherwise. Letting go isn't giving up. It's honoring the soul contract that has run its course. That's the difference between attachment and awakening. Attachment screams, "Why can't we go back?" But awareness whispers, "You've outgrown that chapter, step forward." These connections don't fade into regret, they etch themselves into your inner evolution as sacred reminders of your courage, your transformation, your growth. One day you will look back not with ache, but with understanding, not with longing, but with grace. You'll realize they didn't come to stay, they came to set something in motion. And in that motion, you met the most essential soul of all, the one within you. The version of yourself who no longer begs, no longer chases, no longer clings, but who trusts, surrenders, and evolves. And that is the quiet miracle of destined love. It doesn't give you someone else to hold on to, it gives you back to yourself. The universe does not respond to desperation. It waits, like a patient teacher, not for your longing, but for your readiness. There is a sacred intelligence to the way life delivers its answers. It does not bend to your timelines. It does not move because you are lonely at midnight or aching to fill an emotional void. It listens not to your words, but to your vibration. And until your energy speaks the language of inner wholeness, it will not send you your counterpart. It will send you your lesson. This is not punishment. This is initiation. When you are still lost in the noise of self-doubt, still chasing approval like a thirsty child in a desert of mirrors, what you draw toward you is not true love, but its shadow. You find reflections of your wounds disguised as romance. People arrive wrapped in charm but hollow with confusion. They vanish when you cling, react when you seek clarity, and keep you running in cycles that feel like love but smell like fear. Why? Because your soul is not seeking comfort. It is seeking transformation. It is not craving company. It is crying out for truth. Carl Jung reminded us, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. The people who break your heart are not cruel twists of destiny. They are messengers of what remains unhealed within you. Their distance mirrors your instability. Their silence echoes your suppressed voice. Their inconsistency reflects your inner chaos. And when you finally grow tired of performing for affection, when you no longer beg to be chosen, something ancient begins to stir. You stop asking, "When will I find the one?" and begin asking, "What in me still fears being alone?" You stop chasing sparks and start searching for peace. You sit in silence, not to be filled, but to be whole. You do not numb the pain. You befriend it. You trace its roots. You allow it to teach you. This is where the alchemy happens. This is where the soul matures. The craving fades and clarity rises. Your loneliness becomes your teacher. Your solitude becomes your sanctuary. And then, without fanfare, without chaos, without obsession, the universe shifts. Not with a bang, but with a hum. Not with fireworks, but with resonance. Like the strings of two instruments, once broken, now vibrating in harmony. It is not addiction, it is not possession, it is not a storm, it is a stillness. And in that stillness, someone appears, not to complete you, but to meet you. They walk beside the version of you that no longer fears her reflection, the version that whispers, I am whole, I am home, I am ready. This is love as it was always meant to be, not the kind that demands, consumes, or wounds, but the kind that breathes, supports, and elevates. And from this moment your life transforms, not because they saved you, but because you finally stopped abandoning yourself. The universe, as always, was listening, not to your fear, but to your healing, because the truth is this. You do not receive what you beg for, you receive what you embody. And when you become the source of your own love, peace, and purpose, everything that is meant for you will find its way, gently, powerfully, and without resistance. So heal, become, let go of the noise, trust the timing of your becoming. Because when you stop chasing love and start radiating truth, you no longer search for the right person. You become the person love has been searching for all along. If something within this message stirred you, if even a single word mirrored your inner experience, I invite you to let your voice be heard in the comments. Have you encountered that soul whose presence feels like home, or are you still walking the sacred path back to yourself? Your story, however unfinished, may become the lantern in someone else's darkness, the very sign they didn't know they were searching for. And if someone close to you is silently struggling with the illusion that love must hurt, that self-abandonment is the price of connection, or that they are unworthy of peace, share this video with them. Help me reach the ones who need to remember. Real love does not demand that we shrink. True connection does not ask for sacrifice of the soul. And the most vital union we will ever form is the one with our own inner truth. Before you go, I invite you to subscribe and activate the notification bell. Here, in this space, we journey beneath the surface of things, exploring the hidden architecture of the psyche, the whispers of the unconscious, and how every relationship is but a mirror reflecting our personal evolution. If there's a theme, a question, or a wound you would like us to explore in future videos, leave it below. This space breathes because of you. Your voice is not only welcome here, it is essential. Thank you for showing up, not just to this video, but to your inner work, to the sacred labor of remembering who you truly are. And always remember this, when the right person appears, your soul will know, not through fear, but through peace. But until that moment, let your most intimate relationship be the one you cultivate within. That is the foundation, that is the home. And from that wholeness, all things real are born. Until next time, I'll see you on the path.